Hey everybody, what's up? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and I'm sitting here in Los Angeles, California. I'm actually going to speak here in a few days. We're taking the Dr. Boyce Watkins Black Economic Empowerment Tour to Los Angeles. After this, we're going to go to Kansas City on April 22nd, and then Baltimore on April 28th, and then Philadelphia on May 5th. And you can find out more at thedrboyceWatkinstour.com. Now I wanted to hop in and kind of throw in some conversation. I love talking about money and wealth building in a context that is, that people understand, that impacts or is affected by something that we see maybe in the media, something that everybody's talking about. And one of the things people are talking about is this bankruptcy filing. I'm looking it up on my phone right now with Tisha Campbell Martin and Dwayne Martin. They filed for bankruptcy not too long ago. They cited about $15 million worth of debt. They claimed that they had a couple $100 in their bank account. Now, here's the thing. They're declaring bankruptcy. They said they couldn't reach an agreement with the banks about paying back the loans, so they decided to declare bankruptcy to reorganize their finances. Now, a couple things you want to understand about bankruptcy, and we talk about this a lot in the Black Business School, which you can join for free at theblackbusinessschool.com, is bankruptcy, number one, is not always an indicator that you're broke. If I don't know this family's financial situation, and I'm not here to gossip about how much money they have or don't have, because I think that what we got to understand is that a lot of people have financial problems, all across America. The other interesting thing is that a lot of people don't advertise their financial problems. They don't put them on Front Street. If you're a celebrity, you're kind of stuck, because when things go bad for you, everybody talks about it, right? Because everybody thinks celebrities are doing well. A couple thoughts on that are, number one, never think that being rich and being famous go hand in hand. I'm out here in LA right now, and there are a whole lot of celebrities who are very, very broke, who are struggling. So don't ever think that being famous automatically means that you're rich. But also, bankruptcy, while it might be embarrassing when people hear about it, that you went through it, a lot of people are going through that. A lot of Americans are stuck in various forms of financial slavery, either through having expenses that are too high and having to take a job that they don't want in order to pay those expenses, or having a lot of debt. Debt and interest payments can almost be compared to a drug and a pusher. You think about a drug. It gives you a high at first, and then eventually goes from being a high to being something that just eases your pain and your discomfort. And you're always having to pay the pusher to keep the drug coming, because you're an addict, right? So because if you don't pay the pusher, then you won't have the drug, which means everything will crash, right? So debt's the same way. You're doing well, you're making money, let's say in Hollywood or anywhere else. So you go out and you get the debt. The debt gives you a high. Like, look at this new car I got. Look at this house I got. Look at this other car I got. Look at this vacation I just went on. That's a high. Those are bragging rights. You feel good about that because you're saying, hey, I'm going to be making a lot of money. I can pay this. It's no big deal. And then eventually, when, let's say, you have a dry spell, well, then you start to hit financial pain. And then what you do is you go back and maybe you get more debt in order to ease the pain, or you make interest payments on your debt, paying the pusher to keep the debt in place so that it can keep easing your financial pain. Just like a drug addiction. A drug addict goes from the euphoria of taking the drug to the necessity of needing the drug in order to just stay afloat. And then at some point there may be the time where you crash, or where something really bad happens, or maybe die, who knows. Or maybe you decide to become unaddicted to the drug. And so while bankruptcy is certainly not the greatest thing in the world, or the thing to be most proud of, to be honest with you, it's not something to entirely be ashamed of. My hope and my thinking is that maybe this couple is declaring bankruptcy because they're just saying, okay, we're going to get unaddicted to this drug. We learned a little bit from the fast days. They have $15 million in debt. That's a lot of debt. So we're going to reorganize. And that's what bankruptcy does. Bankruptcy allows you to get protection, where you can then reorganize your debts so you can handle them more efficiently based on your income level, as opposed to having the pressure of all these interest obligations kind of pounding on you at the same time, because your creditors are always banging at your door. Well, bankruptcy courts kind of protect you from that, and that was my interpretation here. Maybe that's what they're doing. I think Tisha Campbell Martin and Dwayne Martin, it looks like they're both marketable people. They probably have a ton of projects going on, a ton of things happening in their lives that could easily help them turn around financially. But the debt becomes kind of a monkey on your back, where you're not at a point anymore where you feel that you can actually elevate financially. You're at a point where you're just trying to stay afloat. You're just trying to swim and keep from drowning, and that's just not fun. So sometimes bankruptcy protection allows you to do that, but in general, you want to avoid that. I mean, obviously, just from the jump, which means that whatever you're doing, whatever industry you're in, especially if you're in entertainment, you can't always assume that the money's always going to be good. There can be a time where the money's bad, and that's where you protect yourself economically through saving, investing in multiple ventures that are giving you, direct cash flow, and also doing other things like avoiding debt, keeping your expenses at a manageable level, things like that. Those people tend to do well because those people tend to be living at a surplus. The thing is, you got to ask yourself, am I living my life at a surplus, or am I living my life at a deficit? If you're living at a deficit, what happens is you're accumulating debt. If you're living your life at a surplus, then what you're doing is you're accumulating wealth. So ultimately, all of us want to live our lives at a surplus, which means, most importantly, don't fall for the temptation of keeping up with the Joneses, because the Joneses are probably almost about ready to go to bankruptcy court. Anyway, that's what I say. I'm just being silly, guys, but seriously, that's the honest to God truth. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go. If you want to learn more about this kind of stuff, go sign up at theblackbusinessschool.com. We talk about this stuff all the time, every day. Best black financial school on earth, and I'm not joking. We are better than a lot of the universities out here that are charging you $100,000 to go to school. That's another way people fall into debt, is they spend $100,000 going to college. And going to college is good, but you shouldn't go deep in debt to do it, especially if you're not majoring in a field that's going to pay you enough to help you to get that money back. That's what's happening right now. That's why student loan debt has become one of the biggest crises in America. So the other thing, so sign up at theblackbusinessschool.com if you haven't done that. The classes are affordable. But then the second thing is, don't forget, we're on tour. You can learn about the cities we're going to at thedrboycewatkinstour.com. So we're in LA on the 10th, Kansas City on the 22nd, Baltimore on the 28th, Philadelphia on May 5th, back to Houston on May 15th, and then New Orleans on May 19th, and then we're going to go to New York City at the end of the month. So we're keeping real busy. Oh, and by the way, one more thing, I might have mentioned this earlier, but I think it was so cool. Today I had lunch with Daryl Bell, who played Ron on A Different World, and Tempest Bledsoe came up, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. And they're really great people, and we talked for hours and hours and hours, and it's interesting kind of hearing about their experience from their perspective, so I think that's just a little thing I'm throwing in there because I think it's kind of cool. But anyway, guys, I'm about to get out of here. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.